a lot of people made me feel, did their best to make me feel that I was wrong in that and saying things, and they tried to formulate it as though it was a cybersecurity issue, saying things like, Asa, if you do that, the trolls are gonna come and they're gonna hate you so much that they're gonna probably, destroy your website. Like the server won't be able to handle the trolls that you are gonna have coming. And the opposite was my experience. That's not what happened. I mean, I got into Forbes once I said it out loud,
Yeah,
literally. So
yeah,
yeah,
beautiful. So it was a lot of people we were trying to put a lot of fear into you to maybe push you back into the closet so that you could be the version of Asa that they wanted you to be.
a lot of projection, wrapped in protection.
Welcome to the Queer Quest podcast, your beacon of light and sprinkle of glitter in the queer community. I'm your host, Cristiano Green, CEO and founder of Queer Quest and a transformation coach for queer individuals. And together, we're embarking on a journey of transformation. Each week, we bring you a new training topic or connecting with visionary queer leaders in healing and coaching, diving deep into conversations that inspire growth, celebrate diversity, and empower you to live authentically. So wherever you are, settle in and let's get ready to unlock the vibrant potential within. This is where your quest begins. Hello, all you fabulous souls, and welcome to another episode of the Queer Quest podcast. I'm your host, Cristiano Green, the CEO and founder of Queer Quest and a queer transformation coach. And this week on the podcast, I'm super happy. We have a legend, we have an icon in the house. We have Asa Leveaux, who is an icon architect at the House of Icons. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me on. And for those of you who are co-creating this episode with us, hello to you as well.
Yes, hello to all you absolute icons out there as well. So, Asa, I'm sure there are people out there going, what is an icon architect? So I'd love for you to start by giving us the whole 411, the introduction of what is the icon architect.
Well, first off, thank you for having me on. I do not take this lightly. Anytime someone dares to allow me to enter their space in any capacity, I am forever grateful. So let's start with the word icon, because that could be tripping some people up in the moment.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
how dare he be so egotistical to even consider himself an icon? Are you
Oh,
serious?
oh.
So let me start by saying the reason why I've chosen the word icon, because a lot of times individuals feel embarrassed when I call them God. I am a
Mm,
student of Neville Goddard, Abraham Hicks, Michael Bernard Beckwith, Joe Dispenza, and I am forever in tune with my divinity. I understand myself and yourself and ourselves to be carbon copies of what it means to be divine in all ways, in all things, in a very omnipresent, omniscient way. And sometimes, a lot of times, we collectively forget just how divine we are. But because of the way that we have been conditioned with different religious constructs, different societal paradigms,
yeah.
when we hear someone call ourselves God, we're like, oh no, that's not me. And you push that away. And so instead of fighting against that, because I believe in grace and ease, why not just call you icon and understand what that means for me?
Beautiful. And so then being an architect, does that mean that you help other people to bring out their icon in their life,
Yes,
in their business, in their
you
career?
you got it. So my there's something about it when I have that aha moment when someone actually remembers their divinity, and especially their divinity when it comes to their personal brand, their divinity when it comes to how they operate in business and in certain pillars, what I call iconic pillars, which are marketing, sales, operations, and finance. When you are able to really support a group of individuals, it may be global, but maybe smaller,
Yeah.
up to you, no judgment, no shade. But when you do that and you do that well and consistently, and it doesn't feel like work, it feels more like an iconic recess, then I feel like I've done my job.
I love that. And so I know that we've been following each other on social media for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years. It's been a while.
Yes.
Can't remember exactly how we connected, but I know that I remember you back in the day, you were a queer entrepreneur, and I think you had this
Yeah.
title called Entrepreneur, and you had a podcast, and that was kind of your business model. So I'd love for you to share with the listeners out there who are out there maybe wanting to become a queer entrepreneur. Maybe they are already. Tell us a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur and how you got to become, where you are today.
Thank you for that question. And it's my journey of being a queer entrepreneur has been played out into the public space very in a magnified way. I won't necessarily say I'll just say a magnified way. And the reason why is because my sexuality was more of an unfolding. I was not that little, second grader or even sixth grader who was a assigned male at birth, liking other assigned male at birth humans. Like that's not my story
I know
at
what you
all.
mean. Yeah.
The way I grew up, the idea of queerness was akin to you telling a cattle rancher in West Texas in 1935 about veganism. Like
Mm.
you would literally, like it would ooze out their ears. Like they don't have any point of reference for that. And that was what my life was like. And so when I first started out in the business transformational space over a decade ago, my brand was Genius Academy and being a genius activator.
Oh, okay, nice.
That was the first brand. Then after that, I had a coach and they were like, Asa, with all your military experience, one thing you do really well is you are able to get clarity out of people. I've seen you do it even in workshops. And I was like, okay, great. Then I became America's clarity coach. And then so on and so forth. Then we had the entrepreneurship. And why? Because at that point I had finally accepted it. I understood who I was, or beginning to understand who I was,
Yeah.
and of course was vocal about it. I don't understand. Since I was in kindergarten, if I love someone, I love you out loud and in color. And so I had fell in love with a guy in El Paso, Texas, and I can't keep that a
Couldn't
secret.
hide that. And you
Um,
didn't want to, right? You wanted to shout it from the
Not at
rooftops.
all. And so that's how that came about. But the challenge or the experience that I then came in contact with was individuals saying, Asa, yes, you did help me with my business. Yes, I love the support you gave me. And I am unwilling to give you a testimonial. And unwilling to give you a testimonial because now if I do, people in my church and my community will know that I worked with you. And now that you're expressing yourself the way you are,
Mm,
I'm scared of that backlash just by association. And so I was like, okay, so since you all don't want to do that, I'll just work with people who do. And so that's where the entrepreneur show, the entrepreneurship, the queer money gang at one time, that was a brand I was working with.
yeah.
So that's where that came out of. It came about because I was frustrated in the marketplace, even having service providers deny me work so they wouldn't do my graphics because they knew that this would support a queer entrepreneur. So I was like, okay, if that's the case, let's just go all in and do it. But I will say, a lot of people made me feel, did their best to make me feel that I was wrong in that and saying things, and they tried to formulate it as though it was a cybersecurity issue, saying things like, Ace, if if you do that, the trolls are gonna come and they're gonna hate you so much that they're gonna probably, destroy your website. Like the server won't be able to handle the trolls that you are gonna have coming. And the opposite was my experience. That's not what happened. I mean, I got into Forbes once I said it out loud,
Yeah.
literally. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful. So it was a lot of people we were trying to put a lot of fear into you to maybe push you back into the closet so that you could be the version of Asa that they wanted you to be.
A lot of projection, wrapped in protection. It's yeah,
Mm,
projection is wrapped in protection. You
mm,
think that people are loving you, in actuality, they could be stunting you. And
totally.
so I had to move them out of the way energetically, and
Yeah,
just realize that I'm doing something they've never seen done, and that's okay. Um,
I feel you there.
and
I
I'm
hear
glad I
you.
did.
I'm on that journey
Very glad.
myself, doing things that have never been done, but not letting people stop me along the way.
Mm-mm, not at all.
You're just making me stronger, even if you think you're trying to make me weaker. You're actually doing the opposite. I'm sure that's probably the same for you, right?
That was my experience, especially because at that time, before I was vocal, I was like, I tell people often, like, I was your coach's favorite coach. Like, I was your coach's favorite coach. I was on those virtual summits, those teleconferences. That's how far back I've been doing this. I was doing telesummits before Zoom was a thing. And being on stage and things like that. And when I finally became vocal, say people often, it felt like I was a professional orphan. The professional peers of mine just kind of like dropped me off into the business ether. And there I was, and I felt like I was flailing, but in actuality, I was building something that now I've supported other individuals with understanding who they are and how you can love other people um, when they love differently than you.
Definitely. And that's the interesting thing sometimes about what people call as the personal development space, or, you're helping other people and people growing and developing. You think that people in this community would probably be more open, accepting of, the other ways of living and how people, you stepping into your truest version. But there are a lot of people in that community that I've also found similar situations where they're actually the people that are trying to oppress you from really stepping into your power. I don't know if that's because they're fearful of your power, or they're also fearful of themselves and they're repressing themselves. But hey, everyone has a different journey. But it's really interesting. I'm sure, like I said, you probably look back on going, this space should be safer than most, but it's actually some of the spaces that aren't always the same.
Now that I think about it, based on your what you're saying, because at that time, um, I don't know if you've experienced this, but the personal development and the business transformational space, I know it started out that way, and there are still some remnants of this, but can be quite racially segregated
Mm.
as far as the conferences, the masterminds, the meetups. When you look around the room, a lot of times you see yourself represented
Oh yeah,
a lot of times. And so that was my experience early on. And it's something about the Black American business, the personal development space. It is saturated and wrapped up in religiosity,
of course.
religious. Um, and so there is an undercurrent of not just Christian ideas, but a Pentecostal idea. And if anyone knows anything about religious and about the Protestant movement, the Pentecostal movement in America from maybe the early 1900s until today, you know that that has a lot to do with pushing up against queerness or anything that's outside of the box, or even someone who desires to destroy the box in its entirety.
Yeah. Anything outside of the Bible, or the book of God, the word of God. Yeah. They see it as something that they have to push away or deny, or, try to eliminate from history as well, because it's holding their vision of the world back instead of helping other people's vision of the world come forward. And I think that's where I've seen it the most from the situations that I'm in, is that people are denying me, because if they believe in the construct of how I live my life, their construct is going to fall apart because of all these other
Mhm.
ideals to lay the foundation of how they live their life and how they've been taught to live by religion and whatnot as well.
Very accurate. And I definitely understand that.
Mm. Yeah. So talking a little bit about your journey of queerness and coming to your queer identity, I believe you're pansexual, is that correct?
That is accurate. And
Tell us a bit about that
pansexual,
journey, because I haven't spoken on the podcast with a pansexual person, and I always love hearing people's journeys, no matter where they come from. But your journey strikes a new chord for me to hear. So I'm curious as a listener as well.
so okay, so pansexualness. So I started out, of course, as I have alluded to, being in relationships with girls when I was younger, then
Mm.
women, being married to a woman, having a son,
Yes, you got a
and,
son.
and then
Yes.
and then experiencing divorce. And so after the divorce, I then started getting approached. Now I've always been approached by some, some little gay boy in class, and I've always been, thankfully, when I look back, I was never that person that made another human feel bad
Mm.
or embarrassed. So if you say you liked me, I then didn't tell the school that you liked me. Or I didn't want to publicly shame you, like, oh, you're gay, get away from me. Like
Yeah.
that was never my experience. Um, but when I did start getting approached by more men after the divorce, I was like, what is it? What? Because I believe that when you start getting a lot of attention in a certain way, something in you is aligning
Energetically is it's
energetically.
calling that into you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this? Like, I need to look at myself. Like, what am I doing? At first, I was like blaming myself. Like, what am I? It's the way I walk. But now, then it's like, okay, what if I did meet someone like all that? So then it became a pondering of possibilities, and then I accepted it. But at the same time, I was like, but I still like women. So like, oh, I'm bi. But
Yes.
of
Yeah.
course. Straight people and gay people were like, Asa, that's a cop out. Just say you're gay. But I was like, I
That's
said, oh,
what a lot of people say,
you
right?
think
They think
right.
you're
Yeah, they think
gay or greedy
bisexuals,
or something like that, you know?
it's like bisexuality is a gateway drug to gay.
Yes. What do they say? By the
And
way, you're gay. You know, I've heard
by the way, so I was literally on the off ramp into homosexuality in their eyes. However, that was just not the case. I really was bi as far as my mind went. And then I saw an episode of Will and Grace. It
Mm,
was the last two seasons. It was so there's an episode. If anyone watches Will and Grace as much as I have,
I love it.
um, the only thing that's equal is Living Single and Golden Girls. Um, but the episode was Karen's Baker was supposed to be fired, I believe, and so Will and Grace it was actually Will and Karen had tried to fire the baker, and he was beautiful. He's a beautiful man. And Will was like, so what are you? Because I thought you were flirting with me, but now you're flirting with her. He was
Yes.
like,
It's
mm-mm,
fun.
I'm
Yeah.
pansexual. I love everybody. Love is love. I was like, I think that's what I am. And then, like a year later, I find myself dating someone who was a drag performer. So assigned male at birth, doing drag female impersonation.
Yeah.
And then a few years later than that, I found myself engaged to someone having a trans experience.
Okay. Yeah.
So now I'm like, yeah, you really are pan. Like I say all the time, if you smell good and smile good, you might be good for me.
I love that. Smell good and smile good, then that's all you
Yeah,
need. That's two ticks
you
and you're good.
you might be the one.
Nice. And so, what would you say coming to terms with knowing more about that part of yourself has done for you as a person and as a businessman as well?
So as a person, hmm, as a person, being an understanding that I am having a pansexual experience this time around is showing me that everything is possible. So even we had the conversation about religion just a minute ago.
Yes.
So because of my pansexuality, stumbled upon a term called omniism. Omniism is literally the love or the adoration of all religions or the acceptance of all beliefs and faiths and all those things.
Yeah.
So I tell people often, if you want me to come to church with you or service or your place of worship, that's completely okay. Just know that I go wherever love is being served. If love is not being served, I opt out of that experience. Like I literally opt out of that experience. So
Okay.
being able to really get that being attracted to all could actually look like allness in other aspects of life. So not only the religious allness, they have the spiritual allness, but also like being something called I saw on TikTok is called poly vibe. So poly vibe
Yeah, follow polyvibe.
is more like I can listen, I'm eclectic, so I can listen to all music. I
Gotcha.
love all music. So I don't care if it's, we're going to a country bar or a hip hop spot or, lo-fi chill. Like it does Afro beats. Like as long as, it's a good vibe, then I'm there. Just invite me out. So I have many groups of friends, many circles that can support me in how I experience joy. And that has made completely like all of the difference. All the difference.
Okay, I love that. So when you say poly vibe as well, I know that other people might hear the word poly and they think of
Oh,
things
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
polyamory and things like that.
Right.
Where would you say that you are on kind of that kind of spectrum as well? Do you yeah, like what's your views on that as well?
So my views on like polyamorous relationships. So I actually got inducted into the world of that due to a previous relationship. So I had a previous relationship. They were very, very um they wanted me to be open, but the way they did it wasn't in alignment with how I view someone caring about me.
Mm,
So, like, how can you want someone on the outside when you only want to enact it or go after it when we have a disagreement? Or when the way
yeah,
I'm showing up and the way that you're showing up isn't in alignment for about a few hours, and now all of a sudden you now want to get on the app and leave the house. And
gotcha.
so
I see what you mean. Yeah.
that's how I got
It's an
in.
avoidance strategy of
It was an
avoiding
avoidance
what's
strategy.
happening right now by running off and getting distracted with the next booty.
That's correct. And so that did not support me. And so I felt definitely I had a negative feeling, not in totality, but there was a part that was like, maybe this poly thing isn't all what some individuals think it's cracked up to be.
Mm,
Luckily, I was at the time I was a bartender. I accepted a job as a bartender in Abu Dhabi. So I
okay.
was living out there. And while I was there, I really want to like see, I don't ever want to have someone have that much power over the way I feel about another human or about a concept in life. So my thing is, let's read on it. I like the fact that I'm a reader and I've always been a reader. And so I read a book called The Ethical Slut.
Yes, I've heard of that book.
That is a very good book. So I read that book while I was in the process of uncoupling with that human. And that book really showed me that you can have a poly relationship and do it ethically. However, if you don't value communication, if communication is not your strong suit, polyamory is probably not going to support you well because if you think it's something, to communicate with one person, can you imagine communicating with four?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Right.
100%. Especially if you're someone who I guess because some people, who don't fully own themselves are trying to be someone, and you've got to remember who you're trying to be with which person at what time. What did I say to that person as well? So you have to really be in tune enough to be in your authentic self for you to be authentic with everybody else, so that you can do that. Like that's how I would view it. But again, I'm not in that world myself, so I can't tell people how to do it right or wrong. But from my experience of what I've seen and the people I've had on here, we've talked about it. Like that's very much how they feel like it. You can be your best in doing so.
And not just the communication piece, but since we're talking about business as queer individuals, like,
Mhm.
let's just be real. If you can't financially support one human, what makes you think you're going to financially support three?
Real talk.
Because they all need flowers or some showing of, gratitude or affection or love. Um, and so like seriously, if your love language is gifts and that's the way you show love, well, okay, did everybody get flowers? Did everybody get, the Tiffany bracelet? Did everybody get um new shoes? Like, did you do that equally, or did you do that at least with the conversation? Like, you got the shoes because you love shoes. Remember, we went here, and you got a bracelet. Remember, because we went here, and being able to articulate that so that there are no misunderstandings as for the best of your ability. And so a lot of times people don't have the capacity mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, to handle that. They just want ass. And you have to, if you just say that, and you might be with the right person that understands that you just want to, have flings, sexual flings with people, and that might be okay with your person. But it comes down to just being honest. Can you be honest about your desires?
Truthfully, honest and open and honest about who you are and what you're looking for, and do it in a ethical way. As you said, that book's called The Ethical Slut for a reason, because it's all
Yes.
about, I guess, I'm assuming, being ethical with and authentic with who you are, I'm assuming.
Correct, correct. I even so as we talked about before, divinity, I even go as far as saying you could be a divine slut too. You can understand your divinity and the divinity of who you're with and who you desire to be with in whatever way supports you. And now, of course, I say a part of that divinity is really understanding like, why do you do that? Can you be curious about yourself? Can you be curious about why do you need a hug every day? Why do you need um, that type of attention as often as you do? Like, be able to articulate that, but also dive into you. Like the same way that, we all sometimes get infatuated, or we are in this headspace of love and adoration. We are in a new relationship, and we're just curious about the other person. Have you ever become curious about yourself? Like, do you know why you stand on your tippy toes when you go to the bathroom at 3 o'clock in the morning? Like, do you know why you do that? Do you know why you cock your head to the left when you're reading a book? Like, can you adore yourself to the point that you can answer your curious questions about you? Because the greatest love story of all in your life is the way you love you.
100%. And it's even go deeper than that. You can say, are you even aware that at 3 o'clock in the morning you're on your tippy toes, or even aware that you cock your head? Because there's that level of self-awareness that you really need to have about yourself to then get that curiosity. Because people, I find, sometimes don't even realize that they're doing half the things that they're doing because they're not
Correct.
looking within as to why they're doing those, or even that they're doing them.
Correct. You are very accurate. And I hope that from a lot of individuals, especially everyone that's co-creating this episode with us, I hope that they allow themselves to be aware. It's
Mm.
it's one thing to be aware of everybody. Everybody's doing this. You leave the government, did you know what this politician did? You know what this actor did? But do we know why you're at Grinder at 4 o'clock in the morning? Like, do you know? Do you know why you keep pushing people away once they get closer to you? Do you know why you keep lying about your attractions? Why do you keep hiding all those messages you keep sending throughout the day when you're not at home, when you know you shouldn't? Like, are, yeah, I hope that people can become or desire to become aware of themselves.
100%. And, thinking even deeper there is like, what would your porn history search say about you? And, because sometimes that's the thing that people would never, ever, 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 ever show. Most people probably wouldn't. But what is it saying about you? And when I say when you're using, in a sense, because, that's another use of, a mood enhancing change shift within your energy, right? So, I class a lot of things that you do as using, not always bad, but you know what I'm talking about.
I do. And I like that you even said that, not to start a whole porn conversation, but I do believe that if you want to learn who you are, look at your receipts. So look where your money is going, and then look what you are satisfying yourself with. So I say this often. I love being transparent. It is a way in which authenticity shows up for me. And
Mm,
so I had to know, like, why is it that I like, and I'm gonna be very PG about this. Like,
yes.
why do I like when Like, what's the whole daddy thing about? Like, why do I take on that persona? Oh, because you wanted to be the daddy you didn't have. Oh. Got it. So, but sometimes, porn, receipts, shows, movies, those things can be really great entry points into your soul and into your
Definitely.
psyche if you allow it to be.
Yeah, that's the whole thing of like self-awareness, self-exploration, and going within just to see like getting that curiosity as we mentioned before about why you're doing the things that you're doing, why you're spending your money, your
Exactly.
time, your energy on these things, and do you enjoy doing that, or is it the shame that you have because of it, and that's why you're so afraid to say these things out loud or talk to other people about them, because again it's coming from a place of shame. So
Yeah.
again, each person has to come to terms with understanding that themselves to know, what path they're on. Because again, there are many different reasons why people do things, and if
Mm-hmm.
it works for you, it works for you. It's more when it doesn't, and deep down that it doesn't. That's when you should be
Yes.
figuring out how I can get some support on shifting this and working out why I'm doing it as well. In a world where every journey is unique, one path shines brightly for the queer community. Introducing QueerQuest, the first of its kind personal development platform designed exclusively for us, by us. At QueerQuest, we understand the multifaceted journey of queer identity. That's why we've created a space where you can explore, learn, and grow with the guidance of queer experts from around the globe. Whether you're seeking to enhance your physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual well-being, QueerQuest is your gateway to transformation. Imagine embarking on quests tailored to your journey of self-discovery, finding community, and unlocking your queer excellence. QueerQuest offers online courses, coaching programs, and soon workshops, seminars, retreats, and festivals, all designed to empower you to live your best life. Ready to start your adventure? Join us at www.queerquest.vip to become part of a movement towards personal and collective greatness. Sign up today to join the waitlist and be the first to know when we launch. QueerQuest, where your journey of self-discovery and transformation begins. Don't just dream of a life filled with pride and purpose, make it your reality with QueerQuest. Visit www.queerquest.vip now. Your quest awaits.
And I love the fact that you brought up shame. Um, because I went through a shame, I don't know if it's a shame journey or maybe a shame inquiry with myself.
Yeah.
And I say that because the last book that I did, Black and Queer,
Yes, because you've written a
was
number of books as well. Yeah.
six
Six
to
books.
date.
Yeah.
Yeah, six books
Beautiful.
so far. I have three more in the wings. In the wings.
I love that.
But I needed to, I didn't need to, I desired to relinquish myself of the shameful parts that I was hiding from people. So for instance, and I know who I'm talking to, this is the queer community, so I am aware of the audience, and
Everyone, yeah. Everyone's got
there
their
is
journey
something that
experience for sure. Yeah.
there is something that is not really discussed a lot, but is real and rampant, and it's sometimes your drug use. And there were years that I was using meth, literally. This hat, by the way, if for those of you who are watching, yeah, this hat is like a thing. I'm gonna address it because I keep fixing it. Um,
It's one of those sometimes when people get nervous, they play with the things like the
I'm not
hats.
really nervous. It's just not looking good.
Oh, okay. It's all about the
Still,
look. Sorry
still,
about it.
yeah, I'm still queer.
I'm not putting no nerves on you, girl.
So, um, the I had to talk about the meth conversation.
Yeah.
Now,
That's true.
luckily, I am 41 as of this moment and do not look like what I've been through. And I appreciate the divine for supporting me in that. Because if you know anything about meth usage, that has really torn up some people's, not just their lives, not their family lives, but literally how they are aesthetically. And they're
Oh
not
yeah.
able to
Yeah.
recover from that. And so that's what I say when I say I don't look like what I've been through. It literally means that. And that's something that is very rampant, especially where I live currently in
Yeah.
Middle America. Now I'm in the process of moving to New York City. I don't know what it's like there, even though I have visited many times. But as far as Middle America, it's a thing, and it's a thing that can take you out. And so if you remove the shame from it, you may be able to get through it.
Definitely. I mean, I've had my own journey of it. I'm grateful that I never got to a place of it being an addiction, but I've definitely used it with friends. But I've
Mhm.
seen so many of them go downhill, and they definitely show it on their in every part of them. Unfortunately, it's taken a hold of them in many different ways. And so I don't, and I've helped many clients who also have struggled with it. So I've seen people who've been at the depths of it to come out of it as well. And it literally is a lot to do with shame, because
Most
you feel,
definitely.
yeah, you're masking a lot of the shame, and you're using it to get that feeling, that high. But then of course, every time you need more of that, more of that, more of that, which is why
Ew.
people become daily users as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, because if you aren't, for those of you co-creating, I don't want you to use it. If you feel like you're pretty, you're the prettiest thing that walks into the drag brunch, like stay the prettiest thing, because that will take you down. That is the definition of twink death.
Mm. Yeah.
Literally, that'll take you out.
Yeah. So it's been something that obviously you were able to clear up over a many periods. So, I mean, if you don't mind sharing, how long was it that you were,
A few years,
a
a
few
few
years?
years, a few years, and it came from, now that I can, of course, hindsight is a trip, but it came from a desire to be desired. And
Yeah.
so there, if you talk about meth, you talk about the queer community, you have to say the term, which is chem sex.
Yes.
So anytime you mix a chemical with gratifying sex, then, or gratifying form of intimacy, that's what that is. So it came, as I talked about the individual that I was with, a boyfriend that I had in West Hollywood, well, West Hollywood, um, and me experiencing him leaving, going out to say we're open, but only when you're upset. I got angry and I went to the clubs in West Hollywood, got on the app, and met, I will say, one of the most gorgeous humans I've ever seen in life. And the way they introduced it to me, they didn't say the word meth, and not at all. And then, 6 hours later, I've now been in this experience and I am forever changed. Um, like
Mm.
my mind is blown and my stomach hurts. Like in that order. My mind is blown and my stomach hurts. Because that drug is real. That drug is very real. And the crash from it is surreal. It's very surreal. And I do not wish that on anyone. Um, there's a reason why people stay on it, because the feeling, and when you want to be adored, and when there becomes a conditioning or an association with, oh, they adored me, but they adored me when they were using this. And so it's very easy to associate the this and not necessarily the human
And they adored
with
the version of you that was on this as well. And that's also
correct.
important to say. Yeah.
Correct. Because when you're both on it, it's like, it's a wrap. So that's how it was introduced to me. Again, I wasn't tricked, but again, I didn't go into it fully knowing like, oh, that's what that is, because I had never seen that. In Black populations in America, meth is not really like the drug of choice. It's that's not it. And so
Mm.
I knew the street names, but the name he said that day, I didn't know that name. And it wasn't a needle either. It was no needle.
It was
I've always been
probably smoking it, were you? Yeah.
smoking it. And so excuse me, I've always been adverse to anything that was needle. And so anything that's not a needle, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, why not?
I
Let's
know,
do it.
I get, and that's very much the way that people in our community, I think, see it. Oh, it's not a needle. I'm not a junkie.
Exactly. I'm not a junkie. As long as it's not a needle, I'm not a junkie. But
Yeah.
let me tell you, There is nothing. There is nothing like chasing Neverland. There is nothing like chasing Neverland. And if you've seen the movie Hook, um, like you or anything Peter Pan, like if you know what Neverland is, you get a taste of Neverland, and you don't have to buy a plane ticket to go there. You start chasing Neverland, and it becomes real because you don't want to grow up. You want to be this version of you forever.
Mm. To talk about maybe what was it like then to get off that, and then of course the things that would probably wouldn't have been different in your life if you hadn't, because of course look at where you are now and compared to where you were then, like
Hmm.
huge journey. Do you think you could
Huge.
have gotten to where you are without by still doing meth on a regular basis?
I don't know. I am not clear if I would be this person. However, I do not regret those moments.
You should never
I
regret the
think
past. Yeah, it's part of life, part of
that's how
becoming
I
the
feel.
icon that you are in a sense.
And plus, it's over. Like it's done.
Exactly.
Um,
No shame
but
in the past. It's just you don't want it to be your present. Yeah.
and I lived through it, and I have stories to tell, and I can be completely. The capacity for empathy has increased
Mm.
in a way that I was not expecting. So there's really nothing anyone can tell me. I don't care if you're a client, a confidant, a friend, a lover. There's nothing you can tell me now. Not after the stuff. What I have seen on that side, like I'm literally inside of in 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 hmm, in socioeconomic levels that are lower in Black and brown communities. We call these places where drugs are used and sold and prepared trap houses. So I'm literally like Asa Leveaux, an author, best-selling author, like all the stuff, and I am literally in a trap house, multiple trap houses around the country, like a trap house in Oklahoma, a trap house in Miami. Like I become that dude because of what this drug can do. And so because of those experiences, there's just nothing you can tell me. And I survived it. And I get it that I do not look like the headshot that I have. I get it. Those stories are not screaming from my headshot. And I have lots of those.
I love that. Mm. And this is, like I said, not an uncommon experience for many
No.
people out there, which is why it's good that you shared part of it today anyway. So I appreciate you being honest about it as well and vulnerable and
Oh
real,
yeah.
because we were talking about shame as that was part of the
Right.
topic where it came from. And I think it's great that us, as people who've been through it and can look back, we can talk about it without shame because we've made it through, right? We
Yes.
have.
Shout out to Brene Brown, of course. I did watch that TED Talk.
Yes, I
But
lived
yes,
in Britain.
I
Yeah. Mm.
love Brene Brown. And so yes, I just don't have shame around a lot of things. I mean, I said it very flippantly, but not in a way that took away, my experience. But just last week I was at a pool party and my brother was there and somebody smelled, I said, "Ooh, that smells like meth." And he was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "What?" He's like, you took meth." I was like, "It's in my book." Like I've said it on podcasts. This is not a secret. But he was flabbergasted. Like I guess he really didn't, because I mean, family doesn't a lot of times know what we do, how we
Yeah.
do it. They're just
Sometimes
kind of
they
like,
really don't want to know as well. In a lot of they're
they
happy to
don't,
walk around, eyes wide shut.
they don't. And you're just like, so yeah, like I'm in a part of this whole world that actually knows who I am. I get it, no one at Walmart knows, but there's a whole lot of people that actually know what I do and who I am. And so, yeah, it was just that. Um, but like I said, it has gave me the capacity for empathy.
Yeah, I love that. Appreciate that. Yeah. So I'd love, Asa, for you to talk about. We mentioned, of course, that you are an icon architect at House of Icons. So I'd love for you to
Yes.
spend some time before we wrap up. Tell us about what is House of Icons. What is it that people, someone who wants to become an icon, etc. Tell us what you guys do at House of Icons.
So what is House of Icons? Let's just start there.
Yeah.
House of Icons is a full service concierge agency. What is our purpose? Our purpose at this full service concierge agency is to support you in creating, positioning, and monetizing your expertise. I'll say that again, to create, position, and monetize your expertise in an iconic way.
Beautiful.
So, why though? Why? Why did we focus on that particular niche? Because number one, I love when people realize that they know things. So that's the creating part. So like, yeah, you actually know things. Like, yeah, you were, working for the government in the mortgage department for like the last 12 years. You know that. You have been a beautician for the last 20 years. You know that. You were in the military for 25 years. You know that. So just being able to really get an understanding that yeah, that's you creating your expertise. But you have to tell people that you created it.
Yeah.
And then once you tell people more, that's about positioning. So why did I have a podcast? Why do I have a podcast? Why did I write books? Why did I seek out and accept being in publications? To position that expertise. I had to do that. Why am I here with you right now? To support me in positioning the expertise. Positioning is a real thing, like being able to, move into a place where alignment can take place. And that's how I see positioning. But it's one thing to be positioned, it's another thing to monetize that positioning. And
Mm.
that's why you can have so many quote unquote broke coaches, broke business owners. And believe me, I'm not saying that as in they're over there and I'm over here. You don't do over a decade in business and not have a lot of broke stories to tell.
Oh yeah. 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 There's not always, not everything is a home run, right?
Mm-mm.
There's a lot
Like
of
that
there's a lot of strikeouts along the way.
like that post didn't hit. Nobody bought that thing. This
No one turned
mastermind.
up to that event. Yeah.
No,
Oh,
nobody. You
oh, yeah.
couldn't give tickets away, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Like
that
I've
that
done
that, that helps build the icon that you are, because a lot of people can stop at those hurdles and icons keep going, right?
it really is about resiliency. Resiliency is definitely a foundational element to having an iconic brand, to being iconic in nature.
Yeah.
Um, every icon that you love just in the entertainment industry, you can go back and look at all the things that they really had to just get through. I don't care if it's Cher, Madonna, Beyonce, I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
Dolly Parton, Mr. Rogers, like they had to go through some stuff and
Yeah.
get through it. And that's how they are. So then you have the monetization. The monetization, of course, comes from, of course, having clients, brand deals, JV deals. Um, there are many different ways to monetize contracts, long term, short term, licensing agreements, but being able to even know what's available. Um, and that's what we do. And so, with the program that we just launched 2 weeks ago, and it's called Icon Domination, what we did was we
Mm.
looked in the space. This whole thing about me being in the business transformation space for over a decade, I looked at it and I was like, you know what I see missing? I see when I go to these conferences, virtual or in person, especially the more well-known ones, especially with more well-known coaches,
Yep.
what I see is this millionaire on the stage. And this millionaire actually is multi-millionaire most of the time. This multi-millionaire on stage is saying things like, don't you want your website? Don't you want to be known? Don't you understand your personal brand? And they're like, yeah, yeah. And they're like, well, work with me for 6 months or a year, 90 days. And it's like this $100,000 to $1 million price tag. And they're like, meet me in the back of the room. And they're waving their enrollment forms and they're all
Mm.
excited.
Mm.
And then everything that was on that PowerPoint with those bullets and those really nice pictures starts to come to an understanding around month 3 and 4. Like, oh, I don't actually get the result. I'm getting access to this person who will then tell me what I need to do to get the result. It's different if you're for less packages. So like packages that I've seen that are, like the 10 to $25,000 range, those packages usually they have deliverables in them. Like you're gonna get this thing, or we're gonna do this for you. It's not all about you're just gonna hang out with me courtside, or you're gonna hang out with me in my private plane, or you're gonna come
Yeah.
fireside in Thailand and Chiang Mai and rub elephants, and then you're gonna go home and nothing's gonna happen to your business.
It's all
But you
packaged up pretty, but then there's no meat within the sandwich.
not a sliver of chicken, not a piece of chicken.
Not even fake chicken in there.
Not even fake chicken. I'm vegan, not even an impossible burger. So I looked at that and I was like, these people really they want the website, they want the celebrity style photo shoot, they want the podcast interviews, they want, trademarking of their brand, they want a live event that's fully produced, they want speaking engagements. Like, if you want all this stuff, why is there nothing in the middle? Why is there like you only have two options? Well, three really. Do nothing is always an option. But you
Of
can
course.
either pay this person $500,000 to be with them for a year, and all you keep doing is just going to these pretty houses all over the country once a month or once a quarter, or you have to go out and outsource all these things on Upwork, Fiverr, people sliding your DMs, joining Facebook groups, looking at people's skill sets, and then testing them out and all that. Like, those are the only options. Like, why can't there just be a place
I've done
where
it for
you
you,
come
so
that everything is done for you over the course of a year, where there's no coaching, where there's no courses, even though I love coaching, I adore coaching. And sometimes people don't need that. And sometimes people really do.
yeah.
But it's important as a service provider for all of us who are service providers to understand and be able to articulate, you know, you don't actually need me. What you need is this. And that is a very divine moment when you can tell someone no, even though you might need the money in the moment. Like being able to just say, you know what? I love you. I could do remarkable things with you, but at the end of it, I think that what you're really looking for is not someone to hold your heart and hold your proverbial hand as we go through this for the next, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, but you actually want somebody to just do all your stuff. That's what you want. You don't want to
Get
be
it.
accountable. You just want somebody to do your stuff. If you want somebody to do your stuff, there's a guy that does your stuff. And being able to ask enough clarifying questions to find that out.
I love that. Getting it all done, and helping them to get to their iconic status.
Yes, most
Beautiful.
definitely. Most
Amazing.
definitely.
So Asa, if people are interested in this, in getting to know you more, how can people get in contact with you and learn more about House of Icons?
So let me be very clear. I love clarity.
Clarity.
Words mean things.
Yeah.
If you're out there and you're listening to this or watching us, first off, I'm so glad you're here at this point because you stayed the whole time. Woo to you.
Yes.
Um, if you are like, I really want to check out this House of Icons, okay, you don't have to go to any social media, but you can, it's out there. But just go to houseoficons.co. Again, that is houseoficons.co.
I'll put it in
H
the
O,
comments below
okay,
as well.
great.
Yeah.
HOUSEOFICONS.co, not com.co. That's how you can find out everything you need for House of Icons. Now, if you want to just, kiki with me, that's different. Don't go to House of Icons talking about I want to kiki with Asa because you're not gonna get what you
You
want.
ain't kicking, it's straight to business.
Yeah, House of Icons. That's I'm gonna tell you, money. money is a divine conversation to have, and I love divine conversations.
Yeah.
So, if you want to, me, like I'm on social media. If there's a social media platform, I'm on it. I am literally the only Asa Leveaux in the world. There is no other Asa Leveaux. So if you find me, you have found me.
And you know how to
There,
spell, and that is all we need to say.
yes. But yeah,
Beautiful.
I am definitely here.
Awesome. Well, Asa Leveaux, thank you so much for coming on the Queerquest podcast this episode. It's been an enlightening one. We've touched on so many beautiful topics that I think are going to be relevant to people out there in our community. And of course, I wish the House of Icons all the success, and I'm sure it's going to be an iconic brand if it's not there already.
Thank you so much for that. And you have been a great host. I have nothing but positive things to say. If somebody's like, "So how's that guy? How was that?" I'm like, "It's great. It was really
Oh,
good."
I live for that. Thank you so much. And everyone out there, we'll be back next week with another episode of the Queerquest podcast. If you've got any questions, comments, you want to share any of the stories that have come up for you when doing that, you know how to find me. Comment below if you're listening to this on YouTube, or you can reach out to me on social media. But until then, always remember that you've got this and I've got you. Bye for now. Are you ready to embark on a transformative journey towards love and happiness? Introducing the 21-day Gay Man's Guide to Love and Happiness. This isn't just a course, it's a pathway to discovering your true self, overcoming challenges, and embracing happiness. Join hundreds of gay men who found joy and freedom. Learn from Cristiano Green, a coach with 20 years experience and a journey like yours. For a limited time, get this life-changing course at 75% off with a 100% risk-free guarantee. There's nothing to lose, but so much to gain. Your new life is just a click away. Enroll in the 21-day Gay Man's Guide to Love and Happiness today. Visit theglobalpridecollective.com and start your journey towards a happier, more fulfilled you.